Having me, and hello everyone. It's nice to be back and speaking with you. So for those of you who attended last week, so you have been offered a commission. Now what? We dove into relationship building and trust building with orchestras and everything that's needed when you receive a commission through to the premiere. And so, as Janna mentioned, there were lots of great questions that we thought we would take the time, less formal this time. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but to open up the discussion to everyone. And so there are a couple things we wanted to touch on, some of it being website and how your website should look like, things that are good for when essentially selling yourself. And then also um, what to include in a sample portfolio when you are emailing an orchestra, an ensemble, or an agent of an instrumentalist or conductor. How to promote your works, how to go about doing it, and then even questions around consortiums and how they can be developed, created, and all the points there. And of course, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, or if you have a direct question, raise your hand and we'll be happy to incorporate it. And so today is, like I said, it's not really a formal conversation or presentation. It's really meant to be all of us engaged in conversation, so that we can just put everything forward, and I can hopefully help peel back a little bit more, not peel back, but like pull back the curtain of what hides behind for how orchestras can think. And so with that, just to reintroduce myself, my name is Stefani Truant. I run an agency called Truant Artist Management. It is an agency representing contemporary classical composers. My roster right now is all Canadian composers, which I'm very happy to support. And I come to this work honestly. I spent 21 years working in artistic programming with orchestras in Canada, first starting out with the Toronto Symphony, where I was the junior artistic person, taking care of all the guest artists and as a result, all the visiting guest composers. And it was there that I started to build relationships with all of the composers and many that have turned into great friendships. And so then when I moved to the National Arts Centre Orchestra in Ottawa, where I am still located, I became known as the composer person because I'd be sitting at the programming table and people would say, "Oh, we're really interested in emailing or commissioning this composer, but we don't know how to get in touch with them." And then I'd say, "Oh, well, I know them, or I have their email, I can be in touch." And so from there, I had the moniker the composer person, and then it turned into me running and managing the new music plan, which meant being in charge of all commissioning, all new music research for orchestra, for chamber music, putting repertoire suggestions forward to music directors. First, I had worked with Pinker Zuckerman and then Alexander Shelley, who is in his final season with the NAC Orchestra. And so from there, my relationships with composers just continued to grow. And a lot of my work, of course, was putting the NAC Orchestra on the map. And so there were a lot of composers that I cold emailed and just said, hey, especially international composers like, hey, I'm writing to you from the NAC Orchestra. You've probably never heard of us. We're a really great orchestra. This is all the new music programming that we do. Because one of the things I had created or helped create the Wolfgang Sessions, which is a new music chamber music series, which debuted in the 14-15 season. And I was its sole programmer up until I left in 2024. And my aesthetic for that, the programming of that season was music all from this century, because I wanted people to realize this string quartet you're hearing that was written in 2018 is no different than Taylor Swift's song on the radio. So again, coming back to kind of what I talked about last week about building relationships, that's how I was building relationships with composers. And segueing into websites, a lot of the times, I would be reading newsletters from presenting organizations, um, or from artist agencies or even publishers. And I would then find composers' names and start researching them. So I'd come to their websites. And sometimes their websites were really great and informative. And sometimes they were really awful. Like I couldn't navigate my way around them. I couldn't find a list of works or links on the website. And so sometimes it really just made me want to say to them, please let me help you structure your website in a way that is helpful for the people who are researching you. Because again, you never know who finds out about you or how they find out about you and how they come to your website. So you always want to make sure that your website is your best presentation, because that often is the first way people will learn about you. So Anton very graciously decided, or has allowed us to use him as a guinea pig. So we are going to jump onto his website. I'm just going to find the share function.
Anton
And
is a wonderful emerging composer himself, as well as being our library assistant and resident engraver. Oh, look at that. Nice. You just got nice new headshots. Look at you.
it's very attractive right off. You might think it's like a model's website. So it is great. You're looking at it and there's his name. Right away you're seeing, okay, now I can read about him. I can learn about his works. I can listen to his works and I can contact him, plus all of his social media uh, connections. So at first glance, I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to be able to find everything I need right off the bat. And as you scroll through, there lists everything, of course, that Janna just said: composer, educator, copyist, and engraver, which is great. And upcoming events. This is really important because people will always want to see what is happening. So it's great. The hard thing, of course, is keeping it up to date. So there are many, websites I go to, whether they are composers or artists, and certain aspects of their website have been kept up to date, but then you'll see news and upcoming events, and it's like from 2023. So the tip there, if you are going to commit to this, you have to commit to it and make sure that you're always keeping the news and events up to date, which can be time consuming, but absolutely worth it. So this is great. There's a link here that we can click on if we want to go to the prize, which congratulations, Anton, for that prize. That's great. Okay. So we'll take a dive into his bio. Let's learn more about Anton. So it's great right away. He's saying who he is, where he is, and who he's partnered with. So this is all super helpful. Gives me a great snapshot of who he is as a composer, what he's passionate about, and where he works at the CMC and the things he's doing there, and the very exciting project of being the engraver digitizer of the Violet Archer catalog. So that's great. And then let's move into works. So what I like about this is how, and many people have it done this way, solo, chamber, band, orchestra. So it's clear, like if I only want to dive into his chamber music, already I can see all of his chamber music. So let's click on refraction. So refraction for piano trio, the program note, and then we have a listening link, which is fantastic. There's everything that I would want to learn about this piece. My only suggestion, Anton, would be to move this 9-minute length up higher, just so that it's kind of like the instrumentation and the length are together. Because often as a programmer, I'm going to be looking at the instrumentation and the length. as the two first important things. And if you wanted something you could add is the year it was written, it was composed.
And also, if I can dive in for 1 second,
Please jump
if
in
you are
anytime.
a CMC associate composer, you can add a link to the library listing so people can go directly there to download your work, preview the score, what have you. So that can work hand in hand. Your CMC profile can work hand in hand with your personal website and just have that added link. I mean, the advantage to the CMC website is that people can click on it for instant download, instant preview, stuff like that. So you don't have to have every single feature on your personal website. You can outsource it. That's the whole advantage of your CMC profile. But it's good to have your pieces listed in both worlds. It's the double the findability, and but then it also looks really professional when you go to a page that is a publisher page, and it shows that you have that association. Just had to throw in a little CMC plug there.
Absolutely. That's great. So I do want to choose one because I was digging around on your website earlier, Anton, and Mechanical Heart. I was really excited actually to listen to this one, but the link is I don't know if it's broken or if it's unavailable. So specific to that, making sure if you are including links that they are working. And if it's not, just remove it until it is. It's better to not have anything as opposed to having something that's unavailable. But again, I love the structure right away, kind of like what I was saying before, instrumentation, duration, and the premiere performance, all key things that I would be looking for. So the structure of it like that is great. Because you kind of want it to be for a programmer, their one-stop shop. Like right away, they see everything that they need. And if the listening link is available, then they can listen while they're reading the program note. So that was good. And so then let's move on. We have band and orchestra, Western Skies. So we have a link, which is amazing. Listing of the consortium, fantastic. This is really important. Great to have everyone listed there. And all the other, yep. I guess concert band, we wouldn't really need to list out that instrumentation because it's pretty standard. So this one is good. Does anyone have any questions about the breakdown of a works page, or is this pretty clear? I can't see if there are any questions in the chat.
No
Maybe
questions
I'll,
yet. Oh, go ahead, Clara. Jump in.
oh, great. So I put out a collection of works that are sort of flex parts.
Mhm.
And so I have them organized by each piece, because the instrumentation can sort of be mixed and matched. What is there like one common term for those sorts of music? I know some people call them flex parts, and some people call it mixed instrumentation. Like, are there some key words that I can use to make sure people understand that that's what the intention is?
Yeah, I think both of those. I've seen both as well, and both are great options.
Right.
Um, Flex might be a little bit better because it shows that it is flexible, whereas mixed instrumentation to me means I would interpret it, I should say, as a mix of brass and or like winds and strings or something. I wouldn't necessarily interpret it as a flexible ensemble.
Okay. Somebody just said open instrumentation.
Or open, yeah, open
Yeah.
works as well.
Okay.
And possibly
Um,
just a little performance note that just states that you probably already have that included, but just so people are really clear what that are they like educational works or are they uh,
yeah, they're sort of designed for like I used to host Classical Revolution, which I renamed musical tea parties, where adult amateurs could just come and we would play music together. So sometimes it would be like viola, French horn, flute, and then me on cello. So I was like, well, let's just create this collection of music that could fit that environment. And I like
Mhm.
the idea of people that, you know, they're a group of friends, they all play random instruments that they can finally find music to play together.
So like an open score, that you have like C parts, do you have transposed parts in
Yep,
there?
yep.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe, yeah, open score, flex instrumentation.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mix and matchable.
I like that. That's great.
Thanks.
What a great concept, too.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just click over to featured media. So this is great. We have the premiere performance of Mechanical Heart. Oh, it's working here on this page. I guess I didn't click on this one. So that's great. So we can listen to it and see it. So it's really well structured. And then of course contact. You can contact him, ask him questions about his music, all really great. And one other thing I did notice about his website is you can purchase from his website. So that is really great. When I was looking through the works, the only one I could find that was for purchase was an identified funky object. Um, Maybe there are others as well, but it's great to have that option so that you can buy straight from there, or as Yana had mentioned earlier, the link to the CMC website, so people can purchase it directly from there.
And sorry, could I just jump in for a sec as
Please,
well?
yeah.
So not everyone has a webmaster or is can be their own webmaster. It can be very intimidating to build your own website. Um, so in the absence of that, if you really fill out your CMC profile, keep it up to date, have your bio most up to date, latest and greatest bio and pictures there, have your library with your works filled out there. That makes it easier for us to promote you. And then even if you just have a simple personal landing page that, like I said, links to your CMC profile, that there's a lot of things that are already built into the CMC website, such as a shop. If you choose to put your pieces up for purchase, so that you don't have to build that into your personal site. Landis, do you need both places to purchase your website and CMC? No, you don't need to. And it might be more confusing or more for you to manage if you do both. If you don't want to set up this, your own back end for purchasing, like I said, the CMC has that already set up for you as an associate composer. I will say that the more stuff you have on your profile and in your library, the easier it is for us to promote you, because then we have more info that can be put into our catalogs and featured in our monthly mail outs to presenters and things like that. So if you feel overwhelmed by the prospect of filling out your entire personal website, CMC is a good stand-in and complement, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Overall, Anton, I think it's a good website. Lots of great stuff. Lots of great stuff. So we'll jump over to one other website. Um, Many of you, I'm sure, will know Vivian Fung, another Canadian composer based in California. And so Vivian, of course, is more established in her career. So it's great to kind of have the comparison of Anton, who is emerging, newer in his career, and then jumping to Vivian, who, further into her career, pretty established, lots of projects on the go. And so she's chosen right away to start right from the get-go with her news as a rotation, which is great. Lots of exciting. Oh, she was featured in BBC Magazine. That's very exciting.
Hey, Stephanie,
So,
could you maximize it so we can see it all?
oh, sure. How do I do that? Oh, sorry. I think I just clicked out of her website. I'm sorry.
No, sorry, I might have confused things.
I don't know how to maximize it.
Don't worry about it. No worries.
Okay. Oh, are you only able to see like to right here?
Yeah, a little bit more than that.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know how else to
Not
max.
to worry. Don't worry. We can see enough, I think.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. Unless am I able? Oh, is that better? Did that help? No.
It's still the same, but that's okay.
Okay. Um, are you able to see across the top
We are,
where?
yes. Yeah.
Okay, so her menu. So we have her about, and hers is much more in depth. We have biography, mentorships, residencies, articles that she's written, her events page, news. So she's chosen to separate them, her list of works, discography, and media, then any of her research, and then her projects, and then finally her contact. So hers is a much bigger, more fulsome website, great photo of Vivian, kind of jumping right a little bit into a blurb. So it really is kind of like a snapshot right off the top if you want to, learn more about Vivian. So if we jump into full bio, we have her about, we can read all about her. So this is great. Um, I know she does work with a PR firm. So, of course, she has a nice whole press kit that is downloadable, which, of course, is very handy for orchestras or opera companies or ensembles to come and get whatever it is that they need for their website, for their season launch materials. And then she has all of her social media handles. And of course, having a press kit is not a mandatory thing, but I would suggest having a place where your photos are downloadable. If the ensemble or orchestra is looking because they need a photo of you for their launch materials or their brochure, it's nice when they can find it directly. And then they can just copy and paste your bio. So kind of making sure, I guess, jumping back to that, that your bio is always up to date. Touching on something we spoke about last week about you never know who is doing their research on you. Kind of coming back to the website, you always want to make sure everything is as up to date as possible. So even if just starting with your bio, there are many times I go to artist or composer's websites and they're talking about premieres from the 21-22 season. So you can tell that they haven't been keeping it up to date. So again, think of your website as your representation. So you want people to read everything that's going on in your life currently. So what is great here, we're in the 25-26 season currently. So she's talking about that. And then all the things that have happened so far in 2025. And so I'm sure things will start to get updated as we look ahead to the 2026 season or 26-27 season. Okay, so we'll jump over and look at her composition page. So what's great, again here, she has it listed starting out by orchestral works and concerti. And if we keep scrolling, I don't want to scroll too fast. Then we go down to chamber music, a lot of chamber music, brass, which is great, woodwinds. She has it structured by type of ensemble, which is also great. Choral and vocal works, and solo works. So again, really great. Everything is visually able. You're visually able to see what it is. right away the title of the piece, the instrumentation of the piece. So again, that is handy because now I'm looking at it thinking, oh, I was looking exactly for a piece that's for mezzo, flute, percussion, trumpet, and violin. And then I can click on it. So we have our link. We can listen to it on SoundCloud. There's a work overview. It's kind of here, it's like a one-stop shop. Can purchase or rent it. And this is interesting, which I've not seen before. She invites an errata list. So that is very nice of her to ask people to contribute if they see errors or corrections. So that's a really great way to collaborate with the presenters of the works. Doesn't list past performances, but that's okay. We'll click back. So there is an orchestra work that I want to jump to, and it was because I had commissioned her for it without scrolling too fast and make everyone dizzy. Earworms. I had commissioned her for this work with the NAC Orchestra back, in 2018 already. My goodness. So again, there are recordings of it or videos you can watch, you can purchase or rent it. There's related media. Again, she has the errata list. And what I was looking for was commission, Canada's National Arts Centre Orchestra, Alexander Shelley, music director. And so the premiere, remembering now, we did take it to Toronto because the NAC Orchestra and the Toronto Symphony annually do a concert exchange. So we at NACO had presented it as part of our concert in Toronto back in 2018. And then she has a score preview and the program note. So again, kind of like a very fulsome, like there's everything you could want here. Does everyone's website need to be that in depth, like have this much? Not necessarily. I think just coming back to the key important things being instrumentation, length, the date, if you wanted the date it was performed or written or premiered, and listening links, and a program note, just because it makes it easy for when it is being programmed. Let's just go to projects. We'll click on this one. This is an opera that she's currently writing that had a workshop last year at the COC. So we can just read about what it is here. So it's great to see the duration, the cast, and how they're currently working to secure funding. And so what's great about this and having it here is if someone came across their website and said, let's say they were with an opera company, it could be of interest to them. Like they could see that they still have an opportunity to join in on this and potentially become a funder to it. And so then all the different scenes. All right, this is great. And then, of course, everyone who has contributed, all the sponsors for it. All right, so Vivian has a really great in-depth website. I'm just going to stop sharing. So it's actually really impressive. I hadn't been on her website in a while. So I think with websites, the biggest takeaway is what we discussed already, is to really make sure that your bio is always up to date. Any information is always up to date on your website. So if you do choose to have news or events, that those are current to where we are now and forthcoming, and your list of works to make sure that there is, oh, I just gave a thumbs up. Sorry, I got distracted by that. Your list of works to always make sure that the title is clear, the instrumentation, the length, all of your links are working and that they're not broken, and program note, and then of course any credits that are important. So if there are commissioners, consortium, and sponsors or donors. Does anyone have any further questions?
And I can just reiterate as with my conductor and programming hat on that when I even when I hear of a new composer, my first instinct is to Google them and see what kind of web presence and how I can find out more. And often there have been so many composers in the past that I've really loved and wanted to program, but they didn't have proper contact ways to contact them on their website. They didn't have they weren't published properly, so I wasn't able to actually access or preview their scores, and so it ended up just being a one-off. And so there are still composers that I kind of have in a file that I'm curious about, but I haven't been able to fully track down. Even just like I said, if you can't do a full site, just at least have a way of being able to be contacted, and just really basic like list of works or a list to link to CMC or your applicable publisher, so that people can actually find you, so that you can be played and seen.
I think that's
And
one of the biggest things is about putting yourself out there and being seen. You want to make it easy for people to find you, so that they can learn more about you. And I saw the question, Landis. I just want to touch on two other things, just come before we leave websites. You always want to make sure everything is consistent in what you're doing, especially with the list of works. You're consistent in how you're listing everything, because you don't want your pages to suddenly be all different and all over the place. And so that consistency is really important. And with listening links, maybe this is a controversial take, but I would almost recommend not putting a listening link up over using a MIDI recording. I think MIDI recordings are useful, but I don't know necessarily if there's something you would want to put on your website as a representation of your music, even though I know MIDI recordings are way better than they used to be. So that's why I'm saying it's controversial, but it's something to consider, how you want your music presented out there. Yeah. Okay. Landis, your question. So you released an album of your orchestral works. Congratulations. That's really exciting. And how do you get the word out? That is a great question. Assuming you don't have money to pay for a PR person to do all the media for you. I think great places to start are with the CMC, getting it in their newsletter. So there is work that you would have to do. But if you have an email that you can prepare, talking about the release, the label, with the works that are on it, if there are any, which orchestras are included, orchestras plural or singular. And then you can share it with the CMC to get it on the regional newsletter and the national newsletter. And then there are other places as well. I know in Ontario, we have Ludwig van Toronto and Montreal in Quebec. I don't know how if people read it nationally, but reaching out to places like that, La Scène Musicale, and putting it out there so that they can include a blurb, or depending on your financial position, purchasing a small ad to promote the release of your work, to get it out there. And of course, the orchestras who are on the recording, if there is a way that they can help support it. I hope that
And
helps.
there we go. Perfect. My staff read my mind. This is
Mhm.
how you subscribe to the newsletters. You have a choice. There's the national newsletters and composer news, and then also your regional. Make sure you're tapped into both of those. Um, BC has Center Pulse, which is your publication that goes out every 2 weeks. And so you would submit your info to your region to circulate in Center Pulse. And then you can also send out a notice to the national office as well. And Clara, there are also marketing grants for musicians through Creative BC. Yes, BC, you are blessed with a lot more funding than some of the rest of us. Factor, Music BC, and others, and you can pay a professional to promote it for you. Yes, absolutely. And I mean, you could also, yes, all the things that Stephanie and Clara said, but you could also try hiring a child. Not a child, but to that knows the platforms and can get you up and onto things like Spotify if you're needing some assistance with that, because that can be overwhelming. Creating reels and excerpts for socials. That they live in that world, and things that would take me days take them minutes. So that could also be something. You want to make sure you're being presented in the way that you want to be presented, but maybe if you have a student or something that is especially good at navigating the online world, because we have so many resources to promote ourselves that are right at our fingertips, and it's hard to keep up and educate ourselves on all of them. So as we chip away at learning them, I think we can also outsource it to students that are likely happy to have a gig. That's kind of part of how they operate. Also distribution platforms like DistroKid,
DistroKid. Yeah.
where you
Yeah.
upload your music once and then puts it on all the streaming platforms. So this is something I didn't know. That's very cool.
Hmm. Oh, you did that. Oh, great. Excellent.
Yeah, and then I think it's like $35 a year or something like that. It's reasonable. And you can choose which ones you want. So you can just blanket put your music on all of the things. Or if you say, oh, I don't want my music on Spotify because they use things to train AI and they're giving money to terrible people. But whatever. So yeah, you can choose.
Yeah. Hopefully that helps. And recording it's it's hard to get the word out there, especially because we have moved. Oh, good. I'm glad. Because we have moved away from that traditional kind of print media, like, orchestras and ensembles and news releases still get put out, but not, or media releases, not to the same way that they used to. And so I think, yeah, if you're able to find someone who can help you with social media, that would be a great place to really help promote it. And then driving people to either Apple Music or Spotify or one of the streaming platforms, so they can hear your music. And yeah, and just to go back, since it's your orchestral music, whichever the orchestras are, ask them to help promote it as well. And so even if it is just through social media, that they are putting out some posts, and so then it just kind of extends and furthers that reach. Great. Okay. Well, we can dive into if there, oh, there, oh, yes. Other common in-kind supports that emerging composers may not. Okay. These are great questions. I'll start with the first question. Approaching opera companies versus orchestras. It does take, uh, it is a bit different. And opera is a world that I am learning more because I worked for 21 years with orchestra and in orchestra. So I'm learning the opera world more. I mean, the basis of everything is still the same. but how to approach, and knowing that while I think orchestras work far out, opera companies are working even farther out. And so the approach, I guess it depends on how you're approaching them or what you're approaching them for. Is it you have an idea that you want to pitch? Or is it an existing opera? Is it full opera? Is it chamber opera? Um, and I think it's important then, especially with an opera company, and similarly to the orchestra, researching them to see what are they typically presenting. And if they do new opera, is it on large scale or is it smaller? Are they typically doing it more chamber, so that you know how to pitch? Because if they're typically, let's say we'll just use the COC, just because they're easy. They do present new opera, not always on the main stage. It's often on the smaller stage. So it would be more prudent to approach them with a chamber opera or something that could be presented on the smaller stage, as opposed to saying, I have this 90-minute full length, full production opera that I would like to interest you in. And with anything, like with approaching orchestra, you want to build the relationship. So not just jumping straight in and saying, you want to present me, or you want to commission me for this really great idea I have. Introducing yourself, sharing your music, sharing your work, sharing your website, so they can get to learn about you and to build that relationship so that you can then move it forward in that way. But again, knowing opera companies are working that bit farther out. And so keeping in mind that if you are going to pitch something now, or you want to pitch or engage them in conversation, they're already, looking to 28, 29 at least. And then what do you mean by common in-kind supports that emerging composers may not be aware of?
Hey, I asked the question. Thanks so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
That was so great. And to kind of answer your question, it's been commissioned and I'm sort of in between two workshops that have happened and the hopeful full score that will hopefully be on my music stand one day, perfectly coiled and printed from the CMC. Likely Vancouver branch, although who knows, whenever I'm in any other CMC town, I like to wander in. The second question was mainly a callback to last week, and I just wondered, I forget who had mentioned it, but they were talking about sort of at the stage of engaging the commission and maybe contracting, negotiating, and then you had mentioned some in-kind supports that might be available from the orchestra or ensemble that the composer might be able to include as in their negotiation for fee. So it's sort of a question of like in these times when everyone is finding the challenge for finances and funds, are there, I guess, or have there been common in kind supports that many composers have used that have been helpful that maybe they don't know, are aware of to maybe better help negotiate a relationship that doesn't have all the funding dreams in the world, but I guess finding different ways to grow that collaboration.
Okay, I think I understand what you're asking. Um, so I think if they're so separate from a commission in terms of opportunities, like if you're able to find, like I know every year now the National Arts Centre Orchestra have their mentorship program, and they've been wanting to start including composers as part of that, since the Carrefour composer residency doesn't exist anymore. so I think it's looking for those kinds of programs where they're going to be offering that mentorship, whether it includes a commission or not. If it does include a commission, fantastic. So looking for those kinds of opportunities where then that's kind of where you're going to get that, I guess, in-kind support, because you will have access to everyone, presumably on the administration team. You would have access to the artistic team, to the orchestra or the ensemble, or whoever the opportunity is with. And then again, kind of like taking advantage of all those things and building those relationships so that when you're moving forward, program is done, you can come back to that and say, hey, remember me? I participated in this. You were so helpful. I would love to talk about this idea that I have, or I would like to share with you that the piece I wrote for that program has now received all these other performances. I would love to talk with you about having you perform it again, kind of thing. So that I'm hoping I'm answering one part of the question.
It was an unfair question because, I feel like each composer's relationship with a performance ensemble or performer or institution is completely unique. I know that for myself with the opera, like having space to then find, funds to, if that does mean some sort of workshop bit or some sort of usage of like even just being in a room with a sound system and a piano that is not my living room, is a magical gift of in-kind exchange that might be not necessarily be articulated through a commission dollar amount. But I appreciate that as well, because I think it absolutely is just about nurturing that relationship and finding ways that we can grow it outside of just doing this specific piece that we're both excited about doing.
I could maybe speak to it a little bit, coming from, Allegra being, a less traditional ensemble on purpose, that is very commission based, and works a lot with composers. Over the years, we've commissioned, I think, over 20 works, I think was the last count. But and most of those were done the traditional way. We beg, borrow, and steal and beg Canada Council for commission money, and then follow that process and draw up a contract. But then there were other instances where composers came to us and said, I love your ensemble. I love what they do. I feel like I have something to contribute, or I'd love to learn from working with your ensemble. And so then, just knowing that, I would carve out 10 minutes of a rehearsal and just read their piece, like just read it. Just knowing they were interested in working with us, and in a couple of cases that led to commissions down the road. Just be like, or can you even, just have a look at my piece. But uh, rehearsal time is at a premium, and we're a unionized orchestra, so but I really consciously had to make that choice and wedge it in there. But and then other times they were like, I'd really like to write for you. I'd be like, we have no money at the moment, but they came to us and said, doesn't matter, I want to write for your ensemble anyway. And so we negotiated, some like you said, a little bit of workshopping time to help them formulate, and then like gave them a high quality archival recording, you know what I mean, in exchange for their piece. And then, they didn't charge us for, use of their piece for like the first year or whatever. And we performed it a couple of times. I mean, that's a less traditional thing. And I wouldn't advocate for doing that unless you have a really clear agreement written out between the ensemble and the composer, so nobody feels like they're being taken advantage of. And obviously, ideally, we're all getting paid like competent professionals. But as we know, we have to find different ways of working and trading what we have as far as resources. So, and those were smaller works with emerging composers, and like I said, that that was a learning opportunity, and but I consciously made it happen because they'd been coming to our concerts and coming to talk to me, and had developed that relationship. So I think when relationship, getting back to what Stephanie was talking about last time, is like it's all springs from that relationship building. And anything it can start to become possible when you build that relationship, and it's built on mutual trust and understanding of where everyone's coming from. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thanks so
Oh,
much,
that's great.
both.
Yeah. And I think
Okay.
just one last thing, sorry, Puya. Just one last thing about that, especially since you're working in opera, if they have like the training ensemble, the opera company, they have a training ensemble, talking to them and seeing if they would work with you. Because often they would volunteer their time to work with you, to run some scenes, or, if you're writing an aria for a soprano and you're like, can they actually hit that note, or can they go that low, right? And just testing it out that way. And the kind of like, it reminds me of last week talking about when you're writing for an orchestra, getting to know the people in the orchestra so you can write to their strengths. And so even though you're not necessarily writing for that particular soprano, understanding the 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 range and ability of what the voice can do, like if it's coloratura or lyric or however you're writing. So yeah, I think that's kind of that in kind, is like building those relationships in within the artists as well.
And
Oh
I
yeah,
think Puya was first and then Carol.
yeah,
Hello, can you hear me?
yeah.
Well, hello. Thanks so much for Stephanie and CMC for putting this on. I was here last week too, and I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. It's good to talk about this stuff because often we are not taught about this at school or in our studies, and it really helps with composers to progress with their career. So thank you for demystifying some of the behind the scenes. I guess I have two questions. One is, do orchestras work with composers who have not written for uh, orchestral like instrumentations in the past? Is it a good idea to present something in MIDI format, or in your experience, have orchestras worked with composers who have not written for large format instrumentation? And would they take that, I guess, chance or risk, or how? And I guess how do you make that jump as a composer from like writing for chamber groups or even like small ensembles to an orchestral work? So that's my first question. The second question is, at what uh, um, I guess stage as a composer would you recommend getting an agent to help you out with the work? So those are the two questions I have.
Okay, both great questions. Sorry, I was just writing them down so I didn't
Oh,
forget.
thank you.
Um, it, so it's interesting about making the jump. Uh, I know, and to your point about universities not always instructing you, it's kind of like they teach you and they tell you you're amazing and go forth and compose. And no one prepares you. There's nothing that's prepared you for being the entrepreneur or the solopreneur or the composerpreneur. Hey, I just made up a new word.
Oh,
Uh, but really, yeah, to how to market yourself, but even teaching you kind of these ins and outs of how do you make this jump from chamber, or if you have written some orchestra works and only the university ensemble, the student ensembles have played it, how do you get orchestras to take notice? Um, and so I think, again, not to beat a dead horse, but it comes back to building the relationships and getting them familiar with your sound world and your musical language, so that they become familiar with it, so that they can then see, like, okay, yeah, we would like to invest in this composer and have them write a work for orchestra. Um, and so I think having some orchestra works helps to show that you understand even just the orchestration of the orchestra and how all of that works and the world. But I think again, it's just growing that relationship so you go on that journey together so that you can make the jump because every composer starts somewhere, and I totally understand it's that catch 22 of you need the experience, but orchestras want experienced composers, but how are you going to get the experience if they don't give you the experience? And so I think it's just building those relationships, introducing your music and sharing the ideas to show like how your work could exist in larger format and larger scale for orchestra.
Great.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah. And then an agent. It is an interesting question. I think when I was introducing myself earlier, what I didn't touch on was why I decided to do this and become a composer agent, just to talk about me for a moment. With all the work that I had been doing, managing the new music plan at the NAC Orchestra, I was seeing firsthand how it's needed, how composers kind of like all these discussions that we're having today, the help that is needed, and uh, the opaqueness of a lot of things, of how you even get in or find these opportunities or find in-kind supports for emerging composers. Um, there's grants, which is incredible, but there's not a lot of information on how to go about doing it, like to build the relationships and get yourself out there. And so that was a lot of the inspiration for me of why I wanted to do this. And I had attended the Classical Next conference in 2015 and was just so impressed. In Europe, I know Europeans would probably disagree, but Europe just feels like they have new music figured out, and they're just so supportive of contemporary music, and they're supportive of the artists. And I was so inspired at that conference that I remember thinking, okay, if I ever leave the orchestra, I'm going to create an agency specifically to represent composers. Um, and then I held on to that idea because I wasn't ready to leave the orchestra because I loved what I was doing. And then I was ready for change and something new. So here we are and staying true. And people keep saying to me, like, oh, well, you should represent, like, put a violinist or a singer or like, an instrumentalist on your roster. And I'm like, no, I want to be true and represent composers. So I'll just say when. That is an interesting question. I think certainly having enough of a catalog of work for an agent or a manager to promote, that they have something to share, to show successes, um, and to show that you are in a place of growth within your career and the trajectory that you are on. Um, I think those are the ways in which you can determine if it's right. Like, I mean, I know it's kind of great to be like, oh my gosh, I would just love to have someone who can just take over all the negotiation and worry about the contracts, and I don't have to worry about anything. And that is a lot of what I want to do. Um, Absolutely. So I can clear away all the noise to help composers compose and to write and create. But I think it's where you are in your career. Um, and maybe it's getting that person you feel like the time is right because there are opportunities happening where you feel like getting an agent would then just help push you to the next level, get your name a little bit more broadly known, put out there, and help find those opportunities, for writing Puya, like an orchestral work, to get those opportunities. Yeah.
I see. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense. So a composer that is already has opportunities and is growing but needs that extra help. and push. And yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again for today and yesterday. I really learned a lot. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad it was helpful. Carol.
Hi. Thanks for your presentation. I missed the first one, so yeah, I wasn't caught up on that yet, but I got the link, so I'll watch that later. So now I understand you're a composer agent. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So I come from the performing world. I'm mostly a cellist, but I started to write music on my own recently. Um, So actually, my question is a little bit. I'm curious what CMC does for composers.
Mm. Yana, this is for you.
Sure. Yeah. So CMC is a nationwide music library and publishing house that is exclusively devoted to Canadian composers, both that are creating right now. And we also have a significant number of resources devoted to our legacy composers, so composers that have passed. And we continue to circulate their music. I encourage you to hop on our website and actually, if one of the staff could maybe, do you mind grabbing like the composer profile page? So if you apply to be what we call an associate composer, you will be warmly welcomed to one of our 5 regions across Canada. So from coast to coast, there's a BC region, there's my region, which is the Prairie region, which represents Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, and the Northwest Territories. So if you're in one of those areas, you would be in my region. There's the Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic regions. There we go. Composer profiles above. So you would reach out to one of our branches that you align with, and you would apply to become an associate composer by submitting an application that includes some of your works. And then what we do is your work goes into our library so people can preview your scores, purchase, download your scores, rent your scores. We take care of that. If, say you have large ensemble pieces that need to be sent out to compose to orchestras on a rental basis, we do all that for you. We collect your royalties, send that to you. You also have access to our record label center discs if you have an album that requires a label. And this is once again only open to our composers. So we have about 1,200 composers in our database currently. And in addition to that, the fact that we house your works in our library and essentially publish them for you, we offer things like this and there are a lot of other benefits to being an associate composer, like use of our spaces in each of those communities. So we have the Quebec, Ontario, and BC regions all have beautiful performing spaces. We are working on ours. But if you come to Calgary and need a space, we are happy to help you find it. You're welcome to just pop into any of our libraries coast to coast. Where are you located, Carol?
I live in Berlin, Germany.
Oh, okay. So you won't be stopping by probably
Yeah, but I'm
right away.
Canadian.
But it is open to Canadian composers that live abroad. So you would just choose your region that you most closely align with. Our next intake is May 1st. So you're free to apply anytime during the year, but it's the applications are reviewed twice a year by a peer jury of associate composers in the fall and in the spring. So yeah, feel free to reach out and we can happily help you out or guide you in the right direction. And for presenters and performers, it's an amazing resource. The library was always, even before I was affiliated with the CMC, one of my first stops for programming and discovering new composers.
Cool. Can I just ask, what's the difference then between CMC associate composer and a writer with SOCAN, let's say?
I'm sorry.
What would be the difference being in CMC and with SOCAN?
Oh, you should ideally be with both.
Oh, okay.
Because CMC is a library and a publisher. We pay out your royalties from actual purchases and rentals, but then SOCAN is a licensing organization that pays out, when you have airplay and, performance fees and things like that. So I am trying to figure out a way with SOCAN that it's just much more integrated with CMC, your membership, that you can automatically be registered at the same time when you put your things into our library. But that is a little bit far off because SOCAN is complicated. But we will be having a SOCAN sit down Pro D sesh coming up in April. I was just talking to them yesterday to help composers demystify the licensing process, because that is a different process than what we do, but we're trying to make it the same and trying to make it simpler because we don't even understand it all the time at CMC. So it's like it's a journey we're all on together, especially for it's less clear with classical music because it's less clear cut than things like pop music and for radio play and things like that. So we need to also negotiate some kind of some specific terms that are a little bit more tailored to the classical music industry. So we have a ways to go with that, but we're not SOCAN. SOCAN is not us. We have very different functions. Hopefully that makes sense.
They'll both help you earn money.
Yes.
Good, important.
Diana has a question. Do we have time for one more, Stephanie?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. My phone having difficulty. There you go. Yeah, hop on, take Diana. Oh, we can't hear you, Diana. I wonder if there's a... Oh, we still can't hear you. I know phone Zoom and desktop Zoom are different beasts, and
yeah,
both of them can be aggravating. Or if you want to type it in the chat, Diana, if that's easier, we can read it out. Oh, well, Diana's doing that. Do you want to just pop your contact in the chat, Stephanie? And I highly recommend Stephanie and all the things that she does. She can help you with a one-off contract or on ongoing support.
So I put my email and my website. On my website, you will read about Juno, who is a puppy in residence. She's very hard at work on her next commission, as you can see. She has a little bio.
Diana, do you want to try again now? See if we've got some audio for you. Oh, let's see. Is there something we can do on our end to unmute or something? It doesn't look like it's muted. Multidisciplinary artist, and it takes me some time to compose a complete work. Does it look bad if you ...
Oh.
That's a good question.
That is a very good question.
Good things take time to cook, though, is my is my philosophy. But I can see what you mean.
Yeah. No. I don't know if you're still typing. No. Good, read your lips.
Like a year per work.
Yeah, I mean, typically when you're getting a commission or when you're writing a work, you're receiving it 9 to 18 to 24 months before the premiere. So I think if there is a year in between the works you are writing, especially since you're multidisciplinary. And I'm guessing probably in like your projects are bigger in scope. I don't think that there is a problem. I don't think it's bad at all. It's showing that you're dedicated to the work. And I mean, if you're consistently writing and you're showing, I think there would be a bigger worry if there was suddenly a 5-year gap in between the works you're writing. And not even worry, that's not the right word. But yeah, I don't think you would have to worry about a year because again, yeah, your creation process is an important part of your journey as a
I wonder if something like the wording around like how you present yourself, like control your own narrative, like on your website, be like, this is what goes into the creation of one of
yeah.
my works, so that you are getting in front of that and providing context. I think that context is really important for people to understand. If you have a less traditional way of creating, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, I think we'll leave it there. Stephanie, is there anything else you wanted to add or leave us with?
No, I don't think I have any pithy final parting comments this time. But I really enjoyed today and last week, really enjoyed the opportunity to speak with all of you. And I'm glad it's been helpful. And so please feel free to reach out if you have questions. I'm happy to chat.
And likewise, if you have CMC questions, my staff and I are happy to assist. Once again, I'm in the Prairie region. Happy to assist if I can, or contact your own regional director. You can find that on the website. You go to regional sites. But I'm also happy to push you in the right direction and connect you as needed. Here's my email there in the chat if I can help with CMC things.